Hey everybody, for the next book review, as you'll see in the rest of the post, I wanted to do something a bit different. It may not be your entrepreneurial in nature right away, but I can guarantee you this book is very important. And just me thinking in the middle of this quarantine and in the middle of the different things and different issues that we have going on, not only in this country, but globally today in the present period, I wanted to read a book that would kind of help me understand the news, understand the advancements, understand the challenges that we face in this century and moving forward. So, without further ado, for this book review, I'm reviewing 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Dr. Yuval Noah Harari. If you're not familiar with his work, he also wrote *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*. Those are his two previous books, and they are two bestsellers, just like this one. So this man knows what he's talking about. He knows how to pose the important questions of our species, according to him. And his books, I haven't read his other two, but this one was just amazing at being able to not only ask the important questions, but spark further thinking. And that's really what he wants to get out of his readers. So what this book is about, basically it presents three big challenges that, according to Dr. Harari, those are the three biggest challenges that our species face in the immediate future, meaning the 21st century. So the three challenges. First, one of them is climate change, so ecological catastrophe, not being able to stop the warming of our planet. Most people, especially the vast majority of the scientific community, are in consensus, meaning that they understand that the world is warming, and basically at this point it's up to us Homo sapiens to make changes and make changes big enough and fast enough to slow down the warming, because if not, as we know, they can have catastrophic damages. So that's one of the big challenges of our time. Another challenge is nuclear war. So right now we're in this period that a lot of people like to call the long peace, because there hasn't been a war or a major conflict in decades since before the Cold War. And so the longer that draws out, the more tension and the more people start to wonder, how long can this go on for? And then as weapons become more and more developed and advanced, then you start to think, well, if there is a war, if there is a physical conflict, then you're talking about something catastrophic globally. So nuclear war. So that's another big challenge. And then the third challenge that he sees kind of for a species is the marriage or the relationship between artificial intelligence, the development of AI, and biotechnology, which is the understanding of the brain and understanding of our desires and our feelings and consciousness. That is a very interesting relationship that he speaks on, because the more that you can get computers, AI, to understand biotechnology and kind of marry the two, then some of the biggest advantages that us humans have in the job market, maybe in sales or for being a lawyer or even a poker player, kind of the subtle advantages of understanding humans, understanding what are their motivations and things like that, or listening, then you may be able to teach these robots to do it better. And so it's really talking about the development of not only AI by itself or biotech by itself, but the development of the two in conjunction with one another, and the possibilities of where that can take us. So those are the three biggest challenges that he sees for a species. So 21 lessons. So each lesson isn't really a lesson per se, but what it is an element of society that either contributes to the problem or contributes to the solution. So for example, religion, education, God, terrorism, immigration. These are all individual lessons. So there are 21 of those such things. And so within each of them, he kind of breaks them down and sees how do they differ around the world, what are their flaws, what are their limitations, and how are they contributing to the problem or the solution. Another thing he does besides the 21 lessons is he really dissects this notion of narratives. So basically saying everyone's worldview or how they perceive the world in the news and everything is based on their own narrative or story of the world or their role in it. So for example, Christianity, Judaism, our religions, those are narratives. If you believe in karma and reincarnation, that's a narrative. Everything. If you think of, my role is to be the breadwinner of the family, or all of these things are stories that we've bought into, and those are the things that drive our opinions. And so understanding that is going to be key to being able to think of solutions for these challenges, because you have to think of solutions that are scalable and that will be able to be implemented across the world. And so understanding narratives and stories was a huge part of this book. And honestly, you don't see authors write about it because in it he has to dissect his own narrative, which is Judaism. He's Jewish, and he's growing up in Israel, so he really has to dissect all of these things. So it's definitely refreshing, and it's definitely nice to see an author really dissect his own worldview in that way. And finally, this book just serves as a great framework for how to think of not only the problems that face our species, but also how am I supposed to think of solutions? Not only like what are the solutions, but what are the things to consider? So each of these lessons, so what's the religion, what's the education, what's the climate, what's the secularism, what are the different worldviews that people possess that may interfere or help with these advancements. So for entrepreneurship, for example, that one of the biggest questions is how big of a problem are you solving? If you want to understand how to solve problems, and if you want to understand how to ask your team and ask yourself, what kind of problems can I solve? This book will serve you as a great framework just for understanding what problems are and how you can implement wide-scale solutions. If you're not an entrepreneur, this book will help you understand how to process the news around us, at all the advancements, especially now with everything that's going on in the country. It'll help you understand, okay, what does this news mean to me? Who's narrating these news? Maybe I should look for different sources and really try to understand what narrative or story frames their point of view. And so this is an awesome book. And then finally, it tells you about, in this world that seemingly, may have catastrophic endings for us, Homo sapiens, how do you internalize this all, and how do you really take a second to be present? And in the end, he really dips into meditation a little bit, and he speaks on that a little bit. So really just a book on everything that when it comes to just, what are the biggest challenges that we're facing, has a lot of historical references. And if nothing else, you'll be smarter after you read this, but also you'll be able to understand not only your mind, but how the minds of the media stations and the propaganda around the world, how that works. So 21 lessons for the 21st century. This is a bit of a longer video, but there's a lot to unpack here because of how great of a book it is. So definitely recommend this book. Definitely recommend the other works by Dr. Harari. I'll be giving them a try very soon. And thanks, guys.